Earth faced its darkest hour in the year 2189. The massive Concorde vessel hung in orbit like a dagger pointed at humanity's heart. Its crystalline surface reflected sunlight in brilliant patterns, while smaller escort ships maintained formation around it. Inside the orbital station Harmony, Commander Alex Morgan stood at rigid attention. His weathered face revealed nothing, but his hand gripped his ceremonial sidearm so tightly that his knuckles turned white. The circular chamber had been designed for diplomacy, its walls adorned with artwork from a dozen worlds. Today, it would either witness history or the beginning of humanity's end. "The Concorde's position is final," said High Minister Zornfall. His four arms folded in what humans had learned was a gesture of absolute resolution. His translucent skin pulsed with colors that matched his emotional state, currently a dangerous red-orange. Humanity will remain within the boundaries of its birth system. Any venture beyond Sol will be met with immediate military response. Dr. Lisa Keller, Earth's chief diplomat, maintained her composure despite the outrageous demand. Her silver-streaked hair was pulled back in a severe bun, her blue eyes level as she addressed the alien delegation. "Minister, surely you understand this is unacceptable. Humanity has already established outposts in Alpha Centauri. We have mining operations in the Procyon system. You're asking us to abandon decades of progress." The minister's skin flashed a dismissive yellow. "Your species advances too quickly. You lack the maturity to join galactic society. The consensus among the elder races is clear. Humans represent an unacceptable risk." Morgan watched as Keller's jaw tightened. He had known her for 15 years and recognized the subtle signs of her anger, but her voice remained steady. "We have followed every regulation since first contact. We've shared our medical advances. We've provided resources to help with the Rigel plague. How have we demonstrated anything but good faith?" Zornfell's translator crackled as he spoke. "Your history speaks for itself. No species has advanced from planetary flight to interstellar travel in a mere century. No species has adapted our technology so quickly. Your biological aggression combined with your technological growth represents a threat we cannot ignore." A junior diplomat from the Centauri Union, a humanoid with pale green skin, leaned forward. "Perhaps a compromise. A limited expansion with Concorde oversight." Silence. Zornfell's color shifted to deep crimson. "The decision is made. The human species will be contained or it will be eliminated. They have 30 Earth days to withdraw to their home system." Lisa Keller stood slowly, her 5'4" frame somehow towering in the moment. "Then we have nothing more to discuss. Earth rejects your ultimatum." The minister's skin pulsed with shock. "You dare? You think your primitive weapons can stand against the combined might of 17 spacefaring civilizations?" "I think," Keller said quietly, "that you have gravely misunderstood humanity." The alien delegation departed in a flurry of angry colors and clicking translators. Morgan fell into step beside Keller as they walked toward the secure communications room. "They're going to attack," he said simply. Keller nodded. "Of course they are. They've been planning this for years. This meeting was merely a formality." Then Project Stardust is now active. Keller's face showed grim determination. "Send the authorization code. All stations. All outposts. Protocol Omega." Morgan entered his security clearance into his wrist device. "They really believe we'll just surrender our future." "They believe we're children," Keller said, watching as confirmation signals began appearing on the display. "But we've been preparing for this possibility since we first detected their long-range scans 20 years ago." Outside the viewport, Earth turned serenely, unaware that its fate now hung in the balance. But beneath the surface of humanity's cradle, and in hidden bases throughout the solar system, a sleeping giant was awakening. The stars would be humanity's after all. The massive underground facility stretched for miles beneath the lunar surface. Chief Engineer Nate Wilson walked through the central production bay where hundreds of technicians worked around the clock. Above them, through reinforced transparent aluminum, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the black of space. "Status report," Nate called out as he approached the main control station. "Final calibrations on the prototype drives are at 97%, replied his assistant. "All 6 colony ships are fueled and provisioned." Nate nodded, his eyes moving across the data streams. Project Stardust had been humanity's best-kept secret for 15 years, while the diplomatic corps kept the Concorde distracted with talks and minor concessions. Earth's best minds worked tirelessly beneath the lunar regolith. The enormous chamber housed 6 massive starships, each capable of carrying 50,000 colonists in cryosleep. Unlike the conventional fusion drives that powered human vessels in the solar system, these ships contained something revolutionary, something that would change everything. Dr. Olivia Grant entered the control room, her lab coat fluttering behind her. "The bio-countermeasures are ready," she announced. "If the Concorde deploys their neural disruptors, our crews will be protected." Nate respected the xenobiologist's work. For years, she had studied the few pieces of alien technology Earth had managed to acquire, mostly through salvage operations and black market trades. Her team had reverse-engineered critical components that gave humanity a fighting chance. "Any word from Earth?" Olivia asked quietly. "The ultimatum was delivered as expected," Nate replied. "Now we wait for them to make the first move." On the far side of the production bay, Captain Susan Rivera supervised the loading of the last supplies onto the colony ship Endeavor. Her military background showed in her precise movements and clear commands. Under her watch, the ship's crew performed with machine-like efficiency. "Final personnel checks complete," her executive officer reported. "All essential specialists are aboard and in position for emergency departure." "Good," Susan replied. "And the defense complement?" "All fighter squadrons are at full readiness. Weapon systems are charged but dormant to maintain our low-energy signature." The captain nodded, her gaze drifting to the Earth visible through the dome. Her family was still down there, along with billions of others. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her shoulders. In a secure chamber adjacent to the main bay, a team of physicists made final adjustments to what looked like a simple metal sphere the size of a basketball. This unassuming device represented humanity's greatest technological leap, the gravitational phase drive. "Power levels stable," one scientist reported. "Field containment nominal." This technology would allow human ships to create localized distortions in space-time, enabling faster-than-light travel without the massive energy requirements of the Concorde's drives. More importantly, it would provide humanity with a tactical advantage the aliens couldn't anticipate. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red warning lights flashed along the corridors. "Proximity alert," announced the facility's eye. "Multiple Concorde vessels have entered lunar orbit. Energy signatures indicate charging weapons." Nate's communication device lit up with an incoming message from Earth Command. The encoded text was brief but clear. "Protocol Omega authorized. Launch sequence initiated." "They're not waiting 30 days, Olivia observed grimly. "They never intended to," Nate replied, entering his authorization code into the main terminal. "Captain Rivera, prepare your ships for immediate departure." Throughout the facility, blast doors began closing as final launch preparations accelerated. The colony ship's massive engines hummed to life, their energy signatures carefully masked by the lunar mass. "All these years of planning," Olivia said softly. "Do you think it will be enough?" Nate watched as the first defense platforms rose from hidden silos on the lunar surface, their weapon systems targeting the approaching Concorde vessels. "It has to be," he answered, "because today, humanity either claims its place among the stars or faces extinction." The first energy beam struck Earth's orbital defense platform Sentinel-7 without warning. The station's shields flared bright blue for 3 seconds before collapsing entirely. Secondary explosions rippled along its central spine as emergency systems failed. Captain John Hayes watched from the bridge of the EDF, defiant as the massive Concorde warships descended into low Earth orbit. His vessel was small compared to the alien craft, but it carried humanity's newest weapons. "All stations report ready for combat," His tactical officer announced, "Waiting for your command, sir." "Begin civilian evacuation protocols," Hayes ordered. "Then target the lead Concorde vessel and fire when ready." Across Earth's orbit, dozens of human defense ships moved to intercept the alien fleet. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had one mission: buy time for the evacuation to proceed. The Defiant shuddered as its main cannon discharged a concentrated beam of energy. The shot struck the nearest Concorde vessel, causing its shields to ripple but not break. "Minimal damage to target," reported the tactical officer. "Their shields are adapting to our energy signature." Hayes nodded grimly. "Switch to pattern delta. Use the modulating frequencies." Below, on Earth's surface, millions watched in horror as bright flashes lit up the night sky. Emergency broadcasts urged people to remain calm and proceed to designated shelters. Yet despite the panic, there was an underlying order to the evacuation, as if humanity had long prepared for this day. In a hardened bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, engineer Ryan Cooper stood before a massive control panel. Surrounding him, a team of technicians worked feverishly at their stations. "Planetary shield grid at 70% capacity," reported one technician. "Power flow stable." Ryan took a deep breath. The planetary shield system had never been tested at full capacity. It had been built in secret, using technology similar to but distinct from Concorde designs. If it failed now, Earth would be defenseless. "Bring all nodes online," he ordered. "Full power." Above them, the battle intensified. 3 human ships had already been destroyed, but they had managed to disable one Concorde vessel. The rest of the alien fleet began descending toward Earth's atmosphere, weapons charging for a planetary bombardment. "They're targeting major population centers," someone shouted over the tactical net. Captain Hayes clenched his jaw as he maneuvered the Defiant to intercept. "Not if we have anything to say about it." At that moment, the Earth seemed to shimmer. A faint blue glow spread from dozens of points across the planet's surface, expanding and merging until the entire world was encased in a translucent energy field. The lead Concorde vessel fired a massive energy beam directly at North America. It struck the shield and dispersed in a spectacular display of light. On the Concorde command ship, High Minister Zorntal's skin pulsed with shock. "Impossible. Their technology is not this advanced." In the United Nations headquarters, Dr. Lisa Keller stood before a global broadcast system. Her face was composed, but her eyes burned with determination. "People of Earth and sentient beings throughout the galaxy," she began. "Today marks the beginning of a new chapter in human history. For too long, we have been treated as children, denied our rightful place among the stars." As she spoke, hundreds of smaller ships began launching from hidden bases around the world. They were not military vessels but specialized transports carrying thousands of civilians. "The Concorde has declared war upon us for the crime of growing too quickly, for daring to reach beyond the boundaries they set," Keller continued. "They demand we confine ourselves to a single star system forever." In orbit, Hayes watched as the colony ships from the lunar base joined the evacuation fleet. His mission was clear: protect them at all costs. To this, humanity has a single answer. Keller's voice resonated across all frequencies. "The stars do not belong to the Concorde. They belong to all sentient life, and we will claim our share." As the battle raged around Earth, the first wave of humanity's exodus slipped away into the darkness, headed for destinations unknown to their would-be conquerors. The colony fleet moved through the darkness of space, engines burning at maximum capacity. 6 massive ships carried the seeds of humanity's future, surrounded by smaller escort vessels. Behind them, Earth glowed faintly, partly obscured by the flashes of ongoing battle. On the bridge of the lead ship Defiance, Commander Alex Morgan monitored the tactical display. His face was grim but determined as he addressed his crew. "The Concorde fleet is fully engaged with Earth's defense grid. They haven't detected our departure yet." He turned to his navigation officer. "Prepare for phase, jump on my mark." The plan was bold, even reckless. While the main evacuation proceeded, Morgan's strike team would execute a counterattack against the Concorde command vessel, not to destroy it. That was beyond their capabilities, but to create confusion and gather intelligence. All strike teams report ready, his executive officer announced. Phase drive charging at 90%. Morgan nodded, watching as the rest of the colony fleet began dispersing in different directions. Each had a separate destination, coordinates known only to their captains. Humanity would not keep all its eggs in one basket again. Execute phase jump in 3, 2, 1. Space bent around the Defiance. For a moment, the stars seemed to stretch into lines, and then the ship vanished from normal space. Back in Earth orbit, the battle had turned desperate. Human defense platforms fell one by one as Concorde vessels pressed their advantage. Yet the invaders were puzzled by the unusual tactics of the Earth forces. They seemed more focused on delaying than winning. On the Concorde flagship, High Minister Zornful received increasingly concerning reports. Minister, we're detecting unusual energy patterns from multiple locations on the planet, an officer reported, skin pulsing with confusion. And our sensors show mass evacuations from major population centers. They cannot escape. Zornful replied dismissively. Our blockade is complete. At that moment, alarms blared throughout the ship. A human vessel had appeared out of nowhere, directly alongside the flagship's command section. Impossible. The minister shouted as the deck shuddered beneath him. The Defiance had emerged from its phase jump with perfect precision. Magnetic grapples shot out, attaching to the Concorde vessel's hull. Breaching pods deployed immediately, burning through the outer armor. Morgan led the first team through the breach, wearing advanced combat armor. Remember, our objective is the central data core. 15 minutes, then we extract no matter what. Behind them, Lieutenant Kate Miller led the secondary team toward the flagship's shield generators. Her specialty was alien technology, and she carried specialized equipment designed to interface with Concorde systems. These shield configurations are more complex than our intelligence suggested, she muttered as she worked. Then her eyes widened. Wait, I'm seeing a pattern here. There's a cyclic vulnerability every 30 seconds when the harmonics realign. This discovery was worth the mission alone. If human ships could time their attacks to these brief vulnerability windows, they might stand a chance against superior Concorde technology. In another sector of space, the colony ships activated their own phase drives, disappearing from conventional detection. Unlike the military-grade jump that Morgan's ship had performed, these were longer-range transits designed to put significant distance between the fleet and Earth. On the planet below, what looked like a full-scale war was really an elaborate performance. The planetary shield grid held firm as the remaining defense forces engaged in carefully choreographed battle. Evacuations continued through hidden launch facilities across the globe. The Concorde believed they were witnessing humanity's last stand. In reality, they were watching a masterfully executed disappearing act. By the time Morgan's team extracted from the flagship with their stolen data, nearly 40% of Earth's population was already gone, either in space or secured in deep underground facilities that could withstand bombardment. When Zornful finally declared victory 3 days later, he was celebrating the conquest of a largely empty world. Humanity had scattered to the stars, transforming from an easy target into an invisible enemy that could strike from anywhere. 3 years passed since Earth's apparent fall. The stars twinkled indifferently above New Haven, humanity's largest colony on a verdant world 18 light-years from Earth. The settlement had grown from a collection of prefabricated structures to a thriving community of nearly 60,000 people. Admiral Frank Martinez stood on the observation deck of Sanctuary, the hidden space station orbiting at the edge of the system. His weathered face reflected the struggles of the past years as he studied the holographic display showing humanity's scattered forces. "Status report on the Epsilon outpost," he requested. "Construction is proceeding on schedule," replied his aide. "The manufacturing facilities are operational, and the first wave of deep space sensors has been deployed. Martinez nodded with satisfaction. In 3 years, humans had established 12 major colonies and numerous smaller outposts across a carefully selected network of star systems. Each location had been chosen for strategic value and resource availability. And our operations near Earth. Lieutenant Bennett's team successfully disrupted the Concorde supply lines again. 3 of their transport vessels disappeared without a trace. Martinez allowed himself a small smile. Steve Bennett had proven himself a natural at guerrilla warfare. His small team used captured Concorde shuttles to strike at enemy logistics, creating the impression of a much larger resistance movement. On the far side of Sanctuary, Dr. Olivia Grant's xenobiology lab hummed with activity. She and her team had been studying Concorde communication patterns and physiological responses. Their breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. Their color-shifting skin isn't just emotional expression, she explained to a colleague. It's a secondary communication channel. They're transmitting information patterns that our sensors weren't programmed to detect. This discovery had allowed humans to begin decoding Concorde tactical communications, giving Bennett's resistance cells a critical advantage. Back on Earth, conditions were far from what the Concorde had expected. The aliens had anticipated taking control of a populated, resource-rich world. Instead, they found mostly empty cities and inactive infrastructure. The human resistance there was minimal but persistent, targeting not Concorde military assets, but their survey and resource extraction operations. The aliens couldn't understand why humans would damage their own planet's resources rather than surrender them. They didn't realize they were being lured into a trap 3 years in the making. In a hardened bunker beneath what had once been Chicago, Lieutenant Steve Bennett met with his resistance cell. Their faces were grim but determined as they reviewed their latest intelligence. The Concorde has committed nearly 40% of their regional fleet to Earth occupation duty, Bennett noted. They're frustrated by their inability to locate our main population centers or access key resources. And the sleeper cells? Asked one of his team members. All report ready. When the signal comes, they'll activate simultaneously. Across Concorde space, hundreds of human agents had infiltrated alien worlds and installations over the past 3 years. Some posed as traders, others as servants or maintenance workers. All carried specialized equipment designed by Dr. Grant's team, waiting for the day they would receive the activation code. At Sanctuary's command center, Admiral Martinez studied the latest reports from these deep-cover operatives. The full scope of Project Stardust was finally taking shape, not just an evacuation plan, but a comprehensive strategy for humanity's survival and eventual return. The Concorde still believes they won, he remarked to his senior staff. They think they've contained us. Their arrogance will be their downfall, replied his chief of intelligence. They never bothered to count how many ships actually left Earth during the evacuation. They assume we're just scattered refugees. Martinez nodded, his eyes moving to the tactical display where a fleet of newly constructed warships sat in hidden docks throughout human-controlled space. Each vessel incorporated the captured Concorde technology that Lieutenant Miller had analyzed during the raid on the flagship. Begin final preparations, he ordered. It's time to show the galaxy that humanity isn't just surviving. We're ready to fight back. Throughout human space, the message spread. In 28 days, Operation Starburst would commence. The real war for humanity's future was about to begin. 20 Concorde systems exploded into chaos simultaneously. On the mining world of Thelus 9, power grids failed across 3 continents. On the military shipyards orbiting Merrick, navigation systems suddenly displayed phantom vessels, causing panic among the defense fleet. At the Concorde Central Hub, all communication with outlying sectors abruptly ceased. The synchronized attack caught the alien coalition completely unprepared. For 3 years, they had believed humanity confined to a handful of refugee settlements, struggling to survive after the conquest of Earth. They were wrong. Captain Susan Rivera stood on the bridge of the Defiance, humanity's first true dreadnought. The massive vessel emerged from phase space directly in front of the Concorde's primary defense station in the Arcturus system. All weapons systems online, her tactical officer reported. Phase shields at maximum capacity. Open a channel to the Concord station, Susan ordered. All frequencies. The alien commander who appeared on screen displayed the purple-black coloration of extreme shock. Human vessel, you are ordered to power down immediately or face destruction. Susan smiled thinly. I believe you misunderstand the situation. Look at your tactical display. As the alien did so, his skin pulsed with fear. 5 more human ships had appeared behind the station, their weapons already charged. These weren't the cobbled-together vessels that had defended Earth. These were advanced warships incorporating technology that the Concorde had believed beyond human capability. How is this possible? The commander demanded. You should have studied our history more carefully, Susan replied. Humans have always excelled at adapting during adversity. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out as humanity revealed its true strength. The sleeper agents activated their devices simultaneously, causing critical systems throughout Concorde space to malfunction or shut down completely. On the Concorde homeworld, High Minister Zornthal faced an emergency council meeting that quickly descended into chaos. How could humans have infiltrated our core systems? Demanded one council member, skin flashing angry red. And where did they acquire this technology? Asked another. Their phase drive capabilities now exceed our own. Zornthal had no answers. For 3 years, he had assured the council that humanity was contained, that Earth's conquest had ended the human threat. Now, his career and possibly his life hung in the balance. A junior aide rushed into the chamber, skin pulsing with urgency. Minister, we're receiving a transmission from human forces. It's being broadcast on all frequencies throughout Concorde space. On screens across thousands of worlds, Dr. Lisa Keller's face appeared. She looked older but more determined than when she had rejected the Concorde's ultimatum 3 years earlier. People of the Galactic Concorde, she began, 3 years ago, you attempted to limit humanity's destiny and confine us to our home system. You believed your technological superiority gave you the right to determine the fate of our species. The broadcast shifted to show images of human colonies thriving on distant worlds, advanced shipyards producing vessels that matched or exceeded Concorde capabilities, and the massive network of beacons now established throughout the galaxy. Today, we demonstrate that humanity will not be contained, Keller continued. We have established settlements in 27 star systems. We have developed technologies you thought beyond our reach. We have infiltrated every level of your society. On the Concorde homeworld, engineer Nate Wilson activated the final phase of Project Stardust. Throughout Concorde space, thousands of small devices simultaneously powered up. These weren't weapons but communication beacons designed to broadcast a single message to every species in the galaxy. We do not seek war or dominion, Keller stated firmly. We seek only what every sentient species deserves, the freedom to determine our own future among the stars. Her expression hardened slightly. These are our terms. The Concorde will withdraw all forces from Earth immediately. A new galactic charter will be drafted, ensuring the rights of all species to explore and settle unclaimed worlds. And the policy of technological suppression against emerging civilizations will end. The transmission concluded with a simple but clear warning. You have 24 hours to respond. Remember, we now stand as equals. The stars belong to all of us, or they belong to none. As the message spread across the galaxy, members of the Concorde Council turned on Zornthal, their skin colors displaying the universal signal of revolt. The Great Hall fell silent as the doors swung open. The representatives of 23 spacefaring civilizations turned to witness the human delegation's entrance. Commander Alex Morgan led the procession, followed by Dr. Lisa Keller and delegates from Earth and the colonies. They walked with quiet dignity to their assigned table on the convention floor. 1 month had passed since humanity's synchronized attack and ultimatum. The Concorde's initial response had been disbelief, then outrage, and finally grudging acceptance as the full extent of human capabilities became clear. This gathering on the neutral world of Alfera marked the first formal peace negotiations. The massive crystalline dome above allowed starlight to filter down onto the assembly, symbolic of the transparency these proceedings promised. "The Galactic Convention will now begin," announced the mediator, a member of the ancient Tellurian species known for their impartiality. "Today we draft a new charter that will govern relations between all sentient species." High Minister Zornfeld was noticeably absent. His government had collapsed within days of humanity's demonstration of power. In his place sat Acting Minister Valsor, her skin a cautious blue-green as she addressed the assembly. "The Concord acknowledges mistakes were made in our approach to human expansion," she began carefully. "We were unprepared for your adaptability." Lisa Keller rose to speak. Years of hardship had not diminished her presence or her voice. What happened to Earth was not simply a mistake. It was the culmination of a policy that has been applied to dozens of emerging species across the galaxy. With a gesture, she activated a holographic display in the center of the hall. It showed evidence gathered by human agents over the past 3 years, records of other civilizations that had been contained, suppressed, or even destroyed when they developed too quickly for Concord comfort. "Humanity was not your first victim," Keller continued, "but we intend to be your last." Murmurs spread through the alien delegations. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably, their various physical expressions revealing guilt or surprise. Commander Morgan stepped forward, his weathered face solemn. "We have not come seeking vengeance. We have come seeking justice, not just for humans, but for all species that have been denied their rightful place among the stars." Over the next 12 hours, the human delegation presented their proposal for a new galactic charter. Its central tenets were simple but revolutionary. All sentient species had the inherent right to explore space beyond their home systems. No civilization could claim exclusive control over unclaimed worlds. Technological development could not be artificially suppressed. And to ensure these principles are upheld, Morgan explained, "We propose the creation of a defensive network that will span the galaxy." Engineer Nate Wilson rose to demonstrate the system. The small devices that had broadcast humanity's message could be modified to create an early warning network that would alert all civilizations to potential threats. "This network will ensure that no species can ever again threaten another with extinction," Wilson explained. "It belongs to no single government but to all sentient life." As the convention proceeded, smaller alien delegations sought private meetings with the humans. Many represented species that had suffered under Concord restrictions. They shared stories that matched Earth's experience: ultimatums, containment, the suppression of their potential. By the third day, a coalition had formed around the human proposal. Even some long-standing Concord members had defected, recognizing that the old order was unsustainable. In the final session, Acting Minister Valsor surprised everyone by being the first to sign the new charter. "The Concord recognizes that our previous approach was flawed," she stated, her skin shifting to a humble yellow-green. "Perhaps all species have something to teach and something to learn." As the signing ceremony concluded, Dr. Keller stood on the observation deck, looking up at the stars. Commander Morgan joined her in the peaceful moment. "Do you think it will last?" he asked quietly. Keller smiled slightly. "Nothing lasts forever. But we've changed the course of galactic history. Earth is rebuilding. Our colonies are thriving. And we've secured the right of every species to reach for the stars." Beyond the dome, ships from dozens of worlds orbited peacefully. Among them were the vessels of 3 newly spacefaring civilizations, invited to join galactic society as equals for the first time. "The stars belong to all of us now," Morgan said, watching the lights of distant vessels move across the night sky. Keller nodded. "And any who forget that lesson will find that humanity stands ready to issue one final warning." 20 years after the signing of the new galactic charter, Earth had transformed once again. The scars of the Concord invasion had faded, replaced by gleaming cities that blended human and alien architectural styles. Gardens filled spaces where battles had once raged, and the night sky bustled with traffic from a dozen different worlds. Admiral Alex Morgan, his hair now completely gray, stood on the observation platform of the newly completed Harmony Tower. Below him stretched New Geneva, home to the Galactic Council headquarters. Representatives from 36 spacefaring civilizations now made their home here. "Quite a view, isn't it?" said a familiar voice. Morgan turned to see Dr. Lisa Keller approaching. The years had been kind to her. Though her face showed lines of experience, her eyes remained sharp and alert. "Hard to believe this was a battlefield 2 decades ago," Morgan replied. "Even harder to believe how much has changed since then." Together, they watched a massive Drelva transport ship descend toward the spaceport. The insectoid species had been among the first to join humanity's coalition during the crisis. Now they were Earth's strongest trading partners. The expeditionary fleet reports they've made contact with a promising civilization in the Carina Arm, Keller said. Pre-spaceflight, but remarkably advanced in biological sciences. Morgan nodded. "And we'll welcome them properly when they're ready, without fear or restriction." This was perhaps the greatest change the new charter had brought. The end of the Concorde's policy of suppression. New species were now mentored rather than contained, guided safely into the galactic community. The Defense Network just brought another rogue group to justice, Morgan noted. Former Concorde hardliners attempting to establish a military base in the Pleiades cluster. The network that Engineer Wilson had designed now spanned nearly a quarter of the galaxy. Its sensors monitored for signs of aggression or weapons development, ensuring that no species could threaten another without immediate detection. Some still resist the new order, Keller acknowledged. Change never comes easily. A small craft approached the tower, bearing the markings of the diplomatic corps. Young cadets spilled out, newly graduated and ready for their first assignments across the stars. Their faces showed excitement and purpose as they made their way toward the council chambers. "I spoke at the academy yesterday," Keller said, watching the young diplomats. "These students have grown up knowing only this new galactic society. To them, the idea of containing a species within its home system seems barbaric." "Progress," Morgan said with satisfaction. Below them, a small monument caught the sunlight. It was simple in design, a stone obelisk engraved with the names of those who had fallen during Earth's defense and the years of resistance that followed. Surrounding it were plants from 24 worlds, a living testament to the diversity now thriving on humanity's homeworld. "The Founders' Conference begins tomorrow," Keller reminded him. "Representatives from all founding species will reaffirm the charter principles." Morgan smiled slightly, including Valsor. "I heard she's leading the Concorde delegation again. She's become one of our strongest advocates. The Concorde itself has been transformed. Less a ruling body and more a cultural exchange now." A notification chimed on Morgan's communication device. The prototype long-range explorer, Horizon, had just reported back from its mission beyond the galactic rim. Initial findings suggested habitable worlds even there, expanding the frontier of known space once again. Humanity's greatest gift wasn't the defense network or even the charter, Keller said thoughtfully. It was proving that adaptation and growth shouldn't be feared. Morgan nodded as they watched a group of children, human and alien alike, playing in the garden below. They moved together effortlessly, their differences forgotten in the joy of the moment. "We did what we promised," he said quietly. "We made sure the stars truly belong to everyone." As evening fell, the first stars appeared above Earth. No longer were they distant, unreachable points of light. Now they represented homes, trading partners, allies and friends in a galaxy that had learned, through humanity's determination, that the future belonged to those with the courage to reach for it.